I wore my first uniform at 17 years of age, the uniform of the National Defense Academy as a cadet. Generally the age some of you students are in. 4 years of rigorous training at the IMA and the Indian Military Academy, and I had the proud privilege of wearing the olive greens of the Indian Army. I wore the uniform for 31 years. And during this long period, I had the privilege of serving in the jungles and mountains of the northeast of India, on the Chinese border, in the deserts of Rajasthan, also on the line of control with Pakistan. I had a stint as a United Nations officer on the Iraq-Kuwait border, then fighting terrorists in the Kashmir Valley, and the most life-changing tenure of all was at the Siachen Glacier at 21,000 feet with temperatures around minus 40 degrees. During this period of a huge lifetime in uniform, and it's also Kargil Divas today, so I've got this. I learned a lot of lessons, not only on soldiering, on leading, and for a life living with soldiers, but I also realized that uniforms change, contexts change, but some of those life lessons continue. So after this life in uniform, I had 17 years in school education, where I learned a great deal from teachers, from institution leaders, from children, and very interestingly from KG children. So I'll tell you about the KG children lesson a little later. So what I chose to speak to you about today is 5 life lessons which will hopefully help you navigate life through challenges and difficulties. And while you may not have a life of a soldier, but you will have life of challenges and despair and difficulties, and through that, be able to lead a really great life. So here's my first lesson. No plan survives contact. This was said by a field marshal, von Moltke, 170 years ago. And for you, contact actually means in military terms when bullets get fired. So we practice for days, we practice along and rehearse. But when the first bullets fire, you realize plans change. The enemy machine gun suddenly pops up from where you didn't expect, and you say, it didn't come up in reconnaissance. Then there's big gorge with water, and you say, it didn't come up in the map. And it's supposed to be a starry night into the attack, and it starts raining. Now that's what happens in war. And instead of feeling despondent and low and broken, you realize that you make plan Bs. And plan Bs and contingencies is what works in life. Similarly, Mike Tyson, the legendary boxer, said, everyone has a plan till you're punched in the nose for the first time. So in life, that's what happens. You have situations, you want 95% marks, and you don't get that, and it's 85. And then you want to go to this college of your dreams, and admission doesn't happen. And then you have a situation where the girl you gave your heart to says, I'm not interested. So always think of plan B's alternatives. Sometimes those are the best. There's always the other girl who's interested in you. But hey, just a word of advice. When you go out with that girl, don't say, you were my plan B. So that's lesson 1. Be prepared for the changes and the contingencies and the adversities. That's part of life. It'll always happen. Lesson 2, execution matters. Get the job done. That's all that matters in the army. If you have to get to Tiger Hill and it's 5,140 meters, you have to get to 5,140, not 5,000, and say, I nearly got there. There's a famous saying in the army, there are no runners-up in war. You can be second in the World Cup football championship. It's a huge achievement. You can be runners-up at Wimbledon. Wow. You can win 100 meters in Olympics, silver, and the nation will celebrate. But in war, runners-up means coffins. So you go into the greatest detail, plan to win and to succeed. But through this, there's another lesson. It's not always about winning. Captain Bahadur, batchmate, told me a story. He was selected to lead the drill contingent, 6 weeks of rigorous practice, everything perfect, goes into a competition of 10 teams, everything goes as per the plan. On one right turn, Naik Kuldeep raises his weapon slightly early. The judges notice. The team is docked 5 points. When the results get announced, out of 10 teams, they come second. They say, well done, celebrate. Then the commanding officer is coming towards them. They think he's going to appreciate it. And he says, I don't like runners-up. Runners-up will let me down in war. So they are depressed. They go back to the barracks. Then they are told, the commanding officers call them in the evening. They think they're going to get a dressing down. The commanding officer calls him to the lawns, says, I'm going to read you a letter which Naik Kuldeep wrote to me in the afternoon. The same Naik Kuldeep who made a mistake. And he said, I made a mistake. I'm a Naik. Please downgrade me to a Lance Naik. Demote me. I let you down. The CEO said, I promote him to a Havaldar, to a sergeant, because there's something bigger than winning and getting the job done, which is character, integrity, and owning up to your mistakes. Because then you will go on to win bigger battles. So keep this in mind. Lesson 3, culture and process. Now, everyone says the army is so disciplined, but what is discipline? What is army known for? Punctuality, perfect uniform, tidiness, and getting the job done. How does that happen? We have processes and consequences for what does not happen. If you don't, there will be consequences. In your life as young people, remember, process is habits. What are the habits you want to put in place? I suggest you have a look at this wonderful video of a graduation speech at UT Austin by Admiral McLaren. And he tells the graduating batch from his life in the military, if you want to change the world, start with making your bed. So do the small things well. If you want to be in the basketball team, it means 1.5 hours of practice a day. If you want to do well in your exam, it means a culture and a habit of studying and studying a lot. If you want to run a great school, it also means students having the opportunity to talk and share and be adult. That's culture and process. Lesson 4, people matter. This is one of the greatest lessons of the army. Army doesn't have HR department. It doesn't have people and culture department. The head of HR is the commanding officer himself. The army works on certain fundamental principles: respect, appreciation, gratitude. if you have respect, appreciation, and gratitude, people will follow you. Because unlike companies where you're trying to meet sales targets, here you're telling him you may have to give up your life for the mission. So motivating people is always through appreciation, respect, and gratitude. If someone salutes you 500 times a day, an officer will salute back 500 times a day. That's what you could look at when you want people to follow you. People remember how you make them feel, not necessarily what you do for them. How do you make them feel? So think of this. Give your dad a hug when he doesn't expect it. Write a card for your mom when she doesn't expect it. Not on birthdays. Everybody does it on birthdays. Appreciate the house help. And when you're walking down outside the lift, and the guard bhaiya, give him a samosa when he doesn't expect it. These are ways where people will follow you. So that's the other lesson, fourth lesson from the army. The last lesson is enjoy life. We see death at close quarters. At 21, I was in a post at 12,000, nice sunny day, 20 feet of snow, soldiers had gone to get water. An avalanche strikes all 15 of them. Everybody is buried under the snow. We get the first soldier out from the snow. He's dead. The next 45 minutes, we get 1 to 14, next 14. All of them were alive. I took the body to the hospital. That's how close we see death, and we know how close you can be to dying. But it also tells you how to enjoy life, how to live a great life. And you'll never see soldiers and officers actually sad and depressed and having mental health issues, because that's the greatest lesson. Enjoy life. Remember one thing. There's one thing you don't get a second chance, and that's life. So dance, even if badly like me, but make the most of your life. Don't get pulled down by the little things which happen to you. Those were my 5 life lessons. And the little KG story, I must end with this. I went to KG class one day many years ago, and I thought I was looking fit and young, and for some strange reason I said, "Tell me, how old do you think I am?" And those kids looked up at me and said, 100. And another one jumped in to make it worse, said, "We're in KG, we can't count so much." So it teaches you about humility, about honesty, and if you want life lessons, spend time with soldiers, spend time with old people, and spend time with little children. You will learn many more lessons. Thank you so much.